This week you will be working on Unit 9, Lessons 41 through 45. In Lesson 41, I have an example for Lesson 41 if you will read that in your under your content in the D2L site. These are personal titles and complimentary closings in letters. And then in Lesson 42, personal business letter goals, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. Lesson 43 is memos and emails with lists. Again, here's an example and your goals for what you should be doing for each of the lessons. 44 is letters with indented displays and copy notations. Again, there's an example, the link. Be sure you look at those. It will help you to look at those examples to get the correct formatting. And the final one is Lesson 45, Letters in Modified Block Style. Again, here's an example, a screenshot showing rulers and where the tabs should be set, which hopefully will help you. And then I will also now show you some examples from each lesson and go over those. So in Lesson 41, you're doing a regular business letter that is block style, so everything's at the left. It starts at line 2 inches. See the date there, and at the bottom of your screen you should be able to see the 2 inches. Everything's nice and clearly at the left. Be sure that you space correctly. Change to single spacing with no space above and below the paragraphs. You can do that in the paragraph settings. Open the paragraph dialog box. Make sure it's at 0 before and after spacing, and you're on single spacing. Also, be sure you space 4 times after the date and 4 times after the closing. The yours in red there means your initials. So you should put your initials, either 2 or 3. If it marks it wrong, don't worry about that. Okay, then in Lesson 42, the difference here is this is a personal business letter. And in a personal business letter, it starts out the same with the date on line 2 inches. Spacing's all the same. But then at the bottom, in a personal business letter, after your name, you'll find their address, their personal address. And that's really all that's different in a personal business letter. In Lesson 43, these are memos. Be sure that you bold the caption headings here. Notice they're in caps, they're at the left margin, and they're bolded. And then the data that goes with them, notice, is all in alignment. So you want to tab once for the first one, and some of the others you'll need to tab twice to get it in alignment. The indentation here is a 1/2 inch for the bulleted items, and it should do that automatically unless you've changed it on your software. Memos or interoffice memorandums, in other words, they don't go external to the organization, but they're within the organization, do start at line 2 inches just like the letters. Okay, the next one's Lesson 44. The only thing different here, you still are on 2 inches, still change everything to 0 spacing before and after and single spacing. A lot of similarities. Everything's at the left margin, but notice that you have a long paragraph. Usually it's a quote or something they want to focus on, and you do indent that from the left a 1/2 inch. So if you want to, if the best way to change that is here, indent 0.5 and 0.5 on the left and the right. And again, you can do that by opening under the Home tab, the paragraph dialog box, and changing that to 0.5 and 0.5. Then when you get ready for the next paragraph, you need to change that back out to no indentation. You also have a copy notation on this. That means that a copy is being sent to someone, and it's a good idea always to let the letter that the person's going to, let them know that a copy is going to that person. Okay, this one is lesson 35 or 45, and these are modified block indented paragraphs. Be sure that you set a tab for the date, for the closing lines, which includes sincerely the person's name and their title. Be sure that you go back to the margin for your reference initials, the enclosure notation, and the copy notation. Only the date and only the closing lines are at center. It also does not mean that there are indented paragraphs unless it tells you modified block with indented paragraphs. So be sure you follow that closely on, and I did give you an example of how to set the tab in your content in D2L this week. And then the other one in 4533 that has something different in it. Again, modified block, date at center. That does not mean centered. That means a tab at center so that you can tab over to it and type the date. Notice how they're lined up. We have enumerations, and notice how they are not at the margin. This should be automatic when you click on enumerations up here or numbering on your home tab in the paragraph group. But if it isn't set that way, you may need to reset it if you've messed with it. So it should be indented a ½ inch there. Paragraphs at the margin, only the closing lines, not your initials, are at center. That's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions. Please try not to get behind as we are moving towards the end of the semester very fast. May 11th will be on us before we know it. Thank you.